Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Flow of Consciousness YouTube channel. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I want to start off by saying that I appreciate you for being here. Now, a few of you asked me to share my experiences talking to someone you loved after 1.5 years of no contact. So in this video, I will talk a little bit about how it felt, what it did to me, and maybe hopefully it can give you some perspective on how things might evolve as you move through the no contact phase. Now, I must say that after 1.5 years, I left the relationship behind me, right? There was no more hope. There was no more, imagining a future together with my ex. It was really, I wrapped it up. It was finished for me. So I really started to focus on my own stuff. I started the YouTube channel. I started to write a book. I was traveling, and I took time out to really put the focus back onto myself, right? The first few months was terrible, but after a year or so, you really don't think of your ex that much anymore. Maybe sometimes she pops up in your mind when you listen to a song that reminds you of her or something, but it's really not as obsessive as it used to be when you just break up, right? Now, out of the blue, I actually received a message from her, and it was a 7-minute long voice message. And I remember that I felt kind of like excited about it, right? It was like, oh, how did that happen, right? Because she was really not in my mind at all. So it came very unexpected. So I completely let go of her. And then this message popped up onto my phone. And then I opened it in WhatsApp, and it was like a 7-minute voice message. I'm like, wow, that's really long. I have no idea what to expect. So I felt a mix of excitement and maybe a little bit of anxiety, right? Because I don't know, maybe she wanted to call me names for 7 minutes straight. I didn't know. I mean, hopefully not, but you never know, right? Especially when the relationship was a little bit toxic sometimes. So, but then I listened to the message, and it was so kind, and she discovered my YouTube channel, and she was so happy for me that, I was in a good place. And I could hear from her voice that she was also in a good place. And so what it did to me was it proved that it was the right thing to end the relationship. It really was the right thing to do. And I felt peaceful. I felt grateful, I was listening to her message, and I think I even cried, right? I cried because there was some kind of release. There was some kind of amendment, making amends, right? It proved that the relationship was really finished. It was really over, and we now were living both our own lives, and we could express gratitude for one another. So I felt elated. I felt grateful that she did that. It felt good. I'm not gonna lie. I was happy to receive a message from her quite unexpectedly. It was really not something that I had been waiting for. I totally accepted the whole situation, and I moved on, and she moved on. And her message was, I hope it's let me wait a second, because there is a police car in the back. Okay, so sorry about that. There was a police car in the background, and I don't want you guys to listen to police sounds, even though the Police is a great band, but that's a whole other topic. Anyways, so I felt elated because it was as if it was the last chapter in the book, some kind of happy ending, even though we were no longer together. But it was a nice ending to the whole relationship, because after that I replied with an equally thankful message. And then I think we chatted back and forth a little bit, but then at some point we decided to, okay, this was the end, really the end. And then I didn't talk to her ever since. We didn't talk anymore at all. And it sits right with me. I am not. Oh, okay. It sits right with me. I'm not sad, or I am not thinking about her anymore. Sometimes she pops in my mind, and then I wonder how she's doing. But I decide that this chapter is closed, and there is no need to extend it too much anymore, right? Like, looking back, I know it was the right thing to do. She knows too, right? We had to move on from this, and it felt right. Like, receiving that message from her, I was in a place where I had completely let go of the relationship. So I received it in a state of acceptance. I received it in a state of abundance. I was no longer attached to that relationship. I was no longer attached to my ex. And so receiving that message felt right. It was unexpected, but it was right. And I took it with gratitude, and I replied with gratitude too. And it felt really nice to know that she was in a good place and I was in a good place too, because of course sometimes you wonder, how are they doing, right? You wonder, especially after a year or so, you no longer find yourself in this craving state where you, I don't know, where you want to know what is going on in their life. You want to, maintain this connection somehow, right? But after a year, you let it go, and then it's no longer that important anymore. But you do sometimes still want to, I mean, at least for me, it's like that, know how they're doing. Like, you spend a significant amount of time with the person, right? You connected emotionally, physically, mentally. So they played an important role in that chapter of your life. They were a chapter of your life. So sometimes rereading the chapter, a few pages, a few paragraphs, not reliving, but just, remembering, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Unless you linger there too long, then I think it can be a problem. But if you sometimes just revisit some old memories, or they pop into your mind, and you wonder how they're doing, that's totally normal. Like, this is how it goes for me. Sometimes I think of her, and I no longer feel the need to reach out, or ask. I just, when I think of her, I wish her well in my mind. I'm like, I hope you're happy. May you be happy. May you be free of suffering. May you be doing what you love. May you be surrounded by the people you love and who love you. And that brings me peace. And I think that this is a great way to find peace for yourself. And acceptance is a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing when you can safely say to yourself, okay, this relationship is behind me. I have closed that chapter. I have learned my lesson, and I have moved on, and it transformed my life. It turned me into a new version of myself, and I am forever grateful for that. So how does it feel to have contact with someone you loved after 1.5 years of no contact? I think it felt great, and I felt happy and grateful. So there was no negative, like, tension. There was no fakeness. There was no hiding. There was just true, honest, vulnerable expression, and a sharing of gratitude, which was beautiful. And I think for her it was also a healing experience. It was also her way to really say goodbye, to end things on a good note, because they didn't really end on a good note when we broke up. But this short interaction kind of ended it on a good note. So guys, don't be afraid, don't worry. There is still a chance that you might get your happy goodbye, even though maybe you broke up in a terrible manner. There is still potential that maybe even after a year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows, people change. And sometimes they realize that it's better to forgive, it's better to accept, it's better to end things in gratitude, giving thanks, right? So that's all I have for you, I think. There's not too much more to say about this. It was a nice bonus. It was not necessary, but me crying when I heard her message, when she shared her gratitude with me, showed that there was still some kind of leftovers within me that I hadn't fully maybe integrated, right? But this emotional release, when I received her message, this was like the last part, the last bit, and that put everything into place. And after that, I really closed that chapter, and I think she did too. And maybe, who knows, at some point, when I'm back in Belgium and I'm near where she lives, or I run into her, we might have a pleasant conversation that doesn't feel forced, or that doesn't feel awkward. I think if I would meet her, we wouldn't act awkwardly towards each other. At least from my side, I would act very normal, and I would show her my appreciation and gratitude. And I think it would be a pleasant interaction, like no tension, no weird feelings, just two people who used to know each other, who no longer really do, and who appreciate each other, or what they meant in each other's lives. I think it would go like that. But it was just a nice bonus that it happened. It's not necessary. Once you really fully accept and let go of your previous relationship, it doesn't really matter what happens next. It's nice, it's a nice bonus, but I would have been the same person that I am now if she would have not reached out, right? Maybe not completely, because it healed a small part of myself that was still, unintegrated. But it wouldn't have made like a huge difference, I think. So maybe it helps for you to see things from another perspective, to hear from me a year and a half after engaging in no contact, what it feels like to hear from your ex. But I think that there is no time stamp, no time scale on this. It can be a few months, it can be a few years, right? Personally, I think that if you still hold on to an ex-partner for more than, like, I don't know, 3 years or so, like, if you hold on to them, right, if you're still like obsessively thinking about them, then probably it's important for you to reflect on that and to figure out why that is the case. Because everybody can heal from a breakup, like, really, it's not impossible. Like, everybody goes through breakups, so everybody heals from breakups too. So I am here to give you that hope, to give you that perspective that in the end you will leave it behind you. You will be okay, you will be fine, you will be absolutely fine. Like, it might take a few more months, it's okay, you will be okay. Let me tell you, you will be okay. And I hope that by hearing my experiences, you will understand that once you leave it behind, it's not that important anymore. It's meaningful, absolutely, and it was profound, the experience I had, but it's not necessary for me to go on with my life. I don't need that closure. Maybe that's the word I was looking for, closure. It felt like true closure, but it was not necessary for me to receive that message. So that's all I have. That's all I have for you today on this topic. I hope it was informative. I hope you learned something. And I hope I can give you some hope. Some hope that everything will be fine, even though sometimes it might not feel like that. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. You'll be absolutely okay. And you will be grateful that you went through the hard times. It's the hard times that reveal your true character, and it's the hard times that you will remember as the most resourceful chapters in your life, right? I heard somewhere this interesting metaphor of use your most dark times as spiritual compost, spiritual fertilizer to grow beautiful flowers and trees. And I definitely think that breakups can serve as spiritual compost for sure. They did for me, and I'm sure they can for you too. So that's it. I will end it here. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for being here with me. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.